Okay. Okay, my apologies. Apparently we were muted. We've gone through the adoption of the agenda and the adoption of the minutes and the opening call, and now we are at the briefings for us, and Mr. Joe Gallivan, our Director of Planning and Economic Development, is going to do that for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee members, and thanks for attending in person. It's always good to see you in person. And as we go through this, don't hesitate to ask any questions, please and thank you. And okay, thank you, Sonia. All right, first and foremost important is I would like to introduce you to Emma. Emma Stook is our new Community Development Officer. As I've noted on the slide, she's got experience in both economic development and public and private sector planning, and Emma came to us from Cataraqui Conservation. So it's exciting for us to have this position. I want to thank the committee for 2 years in a row. You supported our proposal to bring this position in because of the need to promote more tourism in Frontenac. The first time didn't work so well at County Council, but the second time we came to a compromise where the council agreed that there's value in seeing if this will work. And so we have a 3-year contract. And we're committed to show council and you the value of this position moving forward. Emma will be out with Debbie on the road a lot, working with businesses, citizens, and promoting tourism. So really welcome, and we're glad to have you here, Emma. Glad to welcome aboard. Lean Six Sigma training. I wanted to put this in my presentation for a couple reasons. First of all, this is a group of county staff getting trained on what's called Lean Six Sigma. There are 3 of our staffs in that photograph. There's Debbie Miller on the far right, and then there is Ms. Sonia Bolton and Mr. Dmitry Kurlyovich also in the photograph. So 3 of our team are there. I'm not sure how much you know about Lean Six Sigma. It's something this organization has been working on for over a decade about process. It's basically process improvement. It's a form of process improvement that's used by many major companies such as Toyota, Southwest Airlines, which is the most successful airline in the United States, uses Lean Six Sigma. Basically, the goal is to look at how we're doing things, try to essentially lean, cut the fat, and Six Sigma to fix the flaws that are in the process and make it work better. There's a presentation or a report to council every year, but we really don't give this enough credit for the work we do. So this is a training exercise, and you, almost like karate, you get belts, different colored belts. The first belt is yellow, and this is for people in our organization who are working towards their yellow belt, their first step. Ms. Miller already has her yellow belt. We have 2 people in the organization, the Chief Administrative Officer and Ms. Susan Brand, head of Fairmount. They have their black belts. They're advanced. And so it's yellow belt, then green belt, then black belt. So I just wanted to point that out to you, and I'm really pleased that in our department we've got 3 and potentially more of our staff working on this kind of process improvement over the next couple of years. I know you're all familiar with the Alto High-Speed Rail project. The public consultation is coming to an end. It began in January. It closes on April 24th. According to their website, they will be, in their words, conducting field studies this spring and summer. This afternoon, the CAO and I have been invited to attend a meeting, a closed meeting with Alto. There'll be other staff from the other 3 townships on the mainland attending, conservation authorities, they want to have a conversation with us. I don't know what that means. I think you would all agree there's a significant lack of information at this stage. So we'll see how it goes. We're very aware, especially on the economic development side. Our team is hearing from businesses, they don't want to invest anything right now, or they're thinking of buying a property in Frontenac and they're not going to right now. So there are definitely implications right now, negative implications, even on the economic development side in Frontenac. In terms of our economic development group, we're continuing business support, monthly business meetings on Wolf Island, mostly Debbie and Emma and Richard when he's not working on the trail. And then business visits working with Frontenac Business, Ms. Ann Pritchard, and that happens every month, driving all over Frontenac, and that is going to continue. And we're also working with the townships on a continual basis as well. This was presented to County Council, but I want to make sure you're aware, our GIS department, working with Richard and his team, have set up a business directory. It's live online. I invite you to take a look at it. If you have any questions or you have any ideas to make it better, please let Richard know. It's a lot of work behind this, and I think it's great right out of the gate, but it can be improved, and let us know if you see anything. But a big thank you to our GIS group. In terms of just a brief overview of what we're up to in planning, that CPPS, the Community Planning Permit System, which is being led by Mr. Kurliovich. We're a year into this. It's a major step forward in waterfront protection. When we say template, that means the actual permit bylaw, which will be implemented by each of the 4 townships. We're at that stage right now. We're going to refine that. We recognize we have to make this work right out of the gate. So we're likely going to work with one of the 4 townships and say, do you want to be the first to go? And we'll help you with that. It will be a township it will be a township initiative, but Mr. Kurliovich is committed to working with them and making this a success. The Natural Heritage Study, which I've presented to you before, that's the 100-year vision of what do we need to protect for the next 3 generations in Frontenac. It's a significant change in how we've looked at this before. Nobody else has done this before in Eastern Ontario. That work is underway. I'm currently working on a public engagement page, Engage Frontenac, working with our communications department and working with GIS for imagery. Our goal is to have that go live at the end of next month, then it will be promoted, and public consultation will begin this summer all across the county. It's definitely a different piece of work than what we did in 2012, which we followed the rules of the Ministry of Natural Resources. And we discovered that those rules really don't work in Frontenac because we're 75% wild, and those rules don't really work in the area that we have. Okay, Mr. Fowler?
Yes, thanks very much. Sorry to interrupt, but the natural heritage, is that relating to waterfront specifically or the other areas as well?
No, it's not specific to waterfront. It's the whole part, all of Frontenac, all of the wetlands, all of the forests, the rivers, trying to decide what do we really need to protect, what's really important in Frontenac that needs to be intact 100 years from now. The consultants who we're working with, they've done work in Simcoe and Huron. They've made it clear to us that development's coming to Frontenac. And they're committed to making sure that what we have and deliver is going to protect these natural resources to withstand some of the pressures we're going to start experiencing over the next decade.
So just to build on that, we already have biosphere designation and Frontenac Arch involvement. So this is another level again that we're going to be paying a study for?
It covers the entire region beyond the biosphere area. It's looking at areas that have not been ever protected under provincial legislation. So I think the example I used last time was there's a giant wetland complex north of Kennebec Lake, north of Highway 7. The drainage starts, the watershed, the headwaters is in Mazenod Lake. It comes down through Cline. This area covers thousands of acres. If you look at how it's protected by the province as a provincially significant wetland, less than 2% of it is protected. Why? Because a lot of the wetlands are very small, so they're not deemed to be important in isolation, but together they act as a giant sponge. And from what I've learned, that complex of wetlands, when there's a major storm event, it holds back significant amount of water from the Salmon River watershed. It really leads to reducing flood damage. That's just one example, and we're going to be looking at others as well. So it's comprehensive. And the company we're working with is owned by, it's Indigenous owned, and they know what they're doing when it comes to Indigenous consultation, so they'll have that covered as well. Population, housing, and employment projections. That's something we update and review every 5 years when new census data comes out. And so that work has just started. Ms. Bolton is managing that project. We're working with Watson and Associates, who've done our work before. So we're looking at projections of up to 25 years by township. And for the islands, we do growth projections for both Wolf and Howe. And they run friction models for the ferries. So I know there's a lot of friction for the ferries. Sorry, I didn't mean to make a joke about that, but they get it. So that will be, what are we looking at in terms of timing?
In terms of time, we're still doing data collection right now. So data collection with this one is complicated because we need building permit data and planning data from all the townships. We need ferry data from 4 or 5 different sources. So our goal is to have the majority of the work done by the end of the summer, and then it can be presented in the fall. We're trying to just be cognizant of the election too. I don't see this particular study being particularly contentious or anything like that, but ideally we want to have it wrapped up before the end of the year.
Thank you. And I should also say that the outcome of the natural heritage study and the population projections, they'll eventually lead to amendments to the county official plan. So I've mentioned to you that we got endorsement from county council to update the county plan. I'm currently doing phase 1, which is going to be a technical amendment. I'm updating all of things that are no longer applicable to Frontenac, changing some wording, but not adding new policy that will be different than what's there now. That'll be done by the end of this year. And then phase 2, the second amendments will be to implement the natural heritage policies and the population projection policies, and that will happen in the first quarter of 2027. And then some of the township projects we've been working on recently, we've been working on official plan amendments for North Frontenac Township. They're on your agenda today. North Frontenac continues to work and update its community improvement plan. It's the only municipality that keeps refining it and improving it. And Ms. Bolton has worked with their team and recently had a open house, I'm sorry. So that's moving forward. And then we also have 3 active subdivision files in South Frontenac, the first 2, Sunbury and Shield Shores. That's a lakefront development. They're right near the end of completion, and the phase 2 of the Hardington subdivision. That has just been submitted. And I was going to ask Ms. Bolton if she could update the committee about the upcoming public meeting.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. So the Hardington Phase 2 subdivision, they submitted 3 applications all concurrently. So there's an official plan amendment, there's a zoning bylaw amendment, and then there's the application for a draft plan of subdivision. So it's a little complicated with our 2-tier government system, but the way it works is we still have authority as the county to approve the plan of subdivision file. The official plan amendment and the zoning need to be approved by the township. And for the official plan, if they adopt the amendment for the official plan and agree to it, then it comes to county council for its final decision. So I've been meeting with South Frontenac staff and with the applicant. The applicant held their own open house, I believe it was right at the end of February. They only had, I think, maybe about a dozen people in attendance. That included staff. I went. And so, but there is a need to have a statutory public meeting now. The statutory public meeting is required for the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment. For the county, for a draft plan of subdivision, we usually hold a public meeting anyways, but it's not required under the Planning Act. So in working with the applicant and township staff, we decided to just have one public meeting, just so that it wouldn't be confusing for the public. So because the township has to, under the Planning Act, have the statutory meeting, they're going to be the host. So I wanted to let the committee know that there won't be a separate public meeting about the plan of subdivision here. So instead, what we can do is I'll go through the clerk and we can send you the link to where all of the submission documents are online, as well as the information about the public meeting. So it's going to be Tuesday, April 7th. It'll be at 7 o'clock in the evening, and it will be at the Verona Lions Hall. And also virtual. So if you just wanted to watch virtually that evening, that is also fine. But we'll make sure that you have all of that data. And we're just in the process right now. There are a lot of technical studies that are being reviewed either by township or county staff or by our external peer reviewers, as well as the conservation authority. So we haven't even completed that first round of technical review yet. But the applicant wanted to proceed with the public meeting to get feedback from the public as well. But we're going to make sure committee members have all the information they need to attend and participate. So, yeah, thank you.
So a link will go out to the committee?
Yeah, so I'll make sure I get everything to Ms. Amini, and she can make sure it goes out to the
Okay.
committee. Yeah,
Thank you. It's better for the public, right, to not have just one meeting?
I think so. I think if we were to have the same presentation and discussion at two different meetings in front of two different committees, it would just be very, very confusing for people. So we just felt this was just cleaner and simpler and the best way to go forward for the public.
Yeah, thank you. And the final image, I just wanted to put this here. This is site visit was done by Dimitri very recently on Canato Lake. The reason I put it in, I want to let the committee know that we do site visits as often as we can. That's why we have, you see the left-hand side of the screen, that's our Ford Bronco 4x4. That can go through pretty much anything. So we're committed to try to get out there even in the winter time if possible. Sometimes the snow is too heavy, and I found out later that Dimitri was up to his knee in snow on another site visit. So just like a postman, congratulations, Dimitri. Better than a postman. So I just wanted to let the committee know we endeavor to move applications forward when we can. That concludes my overview, Madam Chair. Any other questions I'd be happy to answer. The team would be happy to answer.
Okay, Mike?
Thank you. That is very enlightening. I have two comments or questions. First one regarding Alto. We all know that most of the townships have adopted their own position. Is there an official position also from the county of Frontenac regarding the Alto?
Through you, Madam Chair, the answer is there will be. There was a notice of motion passed at last week's county council meeting to bring a motion forward at the April meeting. I should also let the committee be aware that the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, which is the collection of all of the Eastern Ontario counties and the wardens, they held their quarterly meeting last Friday, and they unanimously passed a resolution of opposition against the Alto project. So, and we also heard, we being county council, we heard at the last county council meeting, they're fortunate to have MP Scott Reed virtually. And his message was he encouraged municipalities to take a position that the government, in his opinion, even though he's not part of the government, he's in the opposition. He thought that the federal government needs to have that information from people on the ground, how they're feeling.
My second question has nothing to do with your report, but was about a topic I raised maybe 5-6 months ago. I just wanted to follow up on that. We all know FIFA is coming this year, and I know it's not happening here, but what I've heard and what I've learned, a lot of people coming from abroad, Europe and other parts of the world, would stay on average 5 to 7 days. and they want to do something. Is there anything that we can promote on our websites to attract them to visit Frontenac and see and benefit from this as a tourism initiative?
You can ask Richard Allen to help you with that.
So we're working through you, Madam Chair. We're working with our regional tourism organizations on promoting and collecting an approach for Southeastern Ontario and Northeastern Ontario in terms of FIFA, as they're more connected into the plans at the destination level. There's a number of elements associated with FIFA that are still under wraps, so we're not aware of what's happening, and the cost to buy into any promotions in, say, Toronto are beyond what Frontenac County alone could afford to do in terms of welcoming folks. The other challenge for us is timing. Most of our accommodations are pretty busy during the FIFA period already, and already have made their bookings for that time. So we're not hearing, aside from you, of a desire to increase or tap into that primarily. But we are following it and looking for opportunities.
I'm not just talking about accommodations, talking the trail to come visit, just a day trip from Toronto here, just to promote the area. And it will also be an awareness to Torontians as well. It's just an idea. So if you're following up, that's fine.
We'll be sure to try to tie in some of our social media promotion to connect to that.
Okay. Anyone else? Fred?
It's speaking about Alto. When Scott Reed did his presentation, he did say that it can affect real estate. He brought up the fact that Mirabel Airport and also the Pickering Airport, which never did develop, the government came in and expropriated a lot of lands, and some of that land's just been settled recently, and that's like 50 years ago. And I knew people that had family farms that were expropriated, and it really turned everything upside down. Our land in this area, until they have a specific route, will affect our real estate sales. If anybody is thinking about trying to sell their property, and that it might be really effective in a negative way. And I thought that was one of the biggest things that he brought up. Is really, really important.
Okay. Just on the Alto note, you didn't know why they've invited you basically to a closed meeting and that. So I thought I'd share an experience I had in the past with an unpopular project that was occurring up in the Waterloo region, and people that would be noisy in that were all invited to the meeting, and that including many of the politicians. And so I declined because I said, no, it need to be an open meeting, but I'll make sure that the press is aware that there's going to be a closed meeting. And sure enough, we ended up with a great group of people outside of the closed meeting and that, as well as the press who couldn't get in. And the people inside the closed meeting caught on that it was attempt to one-way communication, not really listening, just trying to convert them over and that. And with that, they could then say that they consulted with all these levels. So instead, they started marching out, and they were more than happy to share with the press and that. And it was very effective in changing what was considered a done deal. So I just give you that as an example. Press always likes to know things. The other piece in that, Watson and Associate in the population study and labor market, I'm looking forward to that. I got to say that there's one that's presented on a yearly basis that I go to down in Gananoque, and it's more for that area. But one of the things that struck me that I've seen not as detailed in the Watson studies is also the egress. It's one thing to say that we've got 6,000 people that have moved into the area. They also detailed who's moved out. And it's very telling in that for the younger people that have, you know, you got 4,500 that moved out, 6,000 that moved in, so you've got a net exchange of 1,500. But the ones that moved in are not of the working labor market. The young people had all left. So I'm hoping that you can get that granular from Watson, because it really was enlightening as to why that, you know, you can't just do a head count of how many people came. You gotta keep track of how many left and what group left. Look forward to the public meeting. And as to the Lean Six Sigma, been there, done that. I like the Diamond E myself and that, but as long as we're being efficient, that's great. That's so. Any other questions from anybody? Looking forward to working with our new communications person. That I'll share an example of Cape Vincent, New York, that sends out a very effective email that covers off any of the area. Just they ask all the people that are holding events or want to advertise, send it into that person on a weekly basis. They blast it out so you always are current and you don't have to do as much work in that. So lots of things that we can do. And on the islands, we tend to work a little bit more closely with New York State at this point in time. Okay. So now, do we need to move to accept that briefing? No? Okay, good. So reports of Planning and Economic Development Committee. And we have Planning and Economic Official Plan Amendment number 2 to the Township of North Frontenac Official Plan, additional residential units.
So we just need a mover and a seconder to get the motion on the floor before discussion starts.
Okay, we have Fiona has moved it and Fred has seconded. And we have Mr. Galvin going to be speaking to it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I go through this report for both reports, just want to explain something from our planning perspective. You'll notice that the report to you is from me. The Township of North Frontenac's reports were authored by Mr. Kurliovich. So we follow a professional code of conduct and ethics, and we need to separate. Even though we're both employees of the County of Frontenac, Mr. Kurliovich is giving his best advice to the township. And when it comes to the county, either myself or Ms. Bolton will write the report with the county hat on, for lack of better words. That's why my name's on the report. All of the hard work was done by Mr. Kurliovich. I'd like to put that on the record. Okay. So thank you, Dimitri. So we have, the first one is official plan amendment number 2 to the North Frontenac official plan. And this has to deal with what are called in planning jargon, additional residential units, which allow for additional units under certain conditions in a municipality. And that's based in partly on changes to the provincial policy statement in the Planning Act. So this official plan amendment will allow people in the township to have up to 3 units on their property if they're within the rural area or the hamlets of North Frontenac, on the condition that their lot fronts on a public road or it's on a private road that meets our township and county private road standards. It has to be a good quality private road that provides emergency access. It will not permit these additional units within 500 feet of a lake, which is our defined boundary of waterfront protection across Frontenac, or 1,000 feet in front of a lake trout lake. We do not want to increase the density around the waterfront. And so we've made that very clear. The other thing I'd like to point out is that one part of this is writing the policy and putting the number in, and that's fine. But it's the background work that was done to prove this that was important. And we wanted to make sure that in the township ultimately adopted another bylaw with water servicing standards. And that was based on work that our team did with, first of all, with our county hydrogeologist, Mr. John Pike of Melrose, to look at what kind of tests need to be done to ensure there's good water for all 3 properties and potentially what kind of impact it will have on adjacent properties. And then we also met with the Ministry of the Environment to make sure that they were satisfied that we were putting the right tools in place to ensure there's safe drinking water. So we've done our due diligence to make sure that this policy will actually work and not cause some problems. I think that's all there was a public meeting held in August, and we responded to some of the public comments. I don't really think I have any other information to share with you other than we are recommending that you endorse this official plan amendment to County Council. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? No? Possibly? No? Okay. All those in favor then? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, now we have another one to get introduced, report number 2026-034, Planning and Economic Development Official Plan Amendment number 3 to the Township of North Frontenac Official Plan Site Plan Control Policies. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Mike and Jim, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would describe this official plan amendment as somewhat technical in nature. It's to clean up the township official plan to make sure it meets provincial legislation and clear understanding. For those of you who don't know about site plan control, it's a planning tool that's been around since 1983. In a lot of cases, it's used by municipalities for commercial development or industrial development to make sure that whatever's put on that property is going to work in the long term. One example I'll give you is we're currently working on site plan approval for a gas station on Highway 7 at 38. That's the one right now that's currently closed. And if you drive by, there's a big sign coming soon, Tim Hortons. So we're looking at site plan approval for that property, including a very long driveway to accommodate up to 30 vehicles at a time. And we work with, for example, Ministry of Transportation and so on to make sure that whatever is built will function efficiently over the long term. That's essentially what site plan control can do. Some municipalities use it for residential. We don't across the townships. It would sometimes is applicable in an urban setting for high density in apartment buildings because you want to make sure that they're going to function well, but they're not in anywhere in Frontenac County. So what this amendment does is it adds wording to make sure that it's clear that site plan control can be used anywhere in the township. Those words were not in the current official plan. And it also there's a list of land uses and types of development that are currently in the plan. Those are coming out because they're not required on the Planning Act. So this really is just a technical amendment to make sure that site plan control is appropriate across North Frontenac Township. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Now, communications, I see none. Other business, see none. Next business is next meeting. And I turn to our clerk here.
So the next scheduled meeting is on Thursday, May the 28th at 10 o'clock here in the County Administration Building.
Okay. Okay, now, can I have a motion to, is that a motion to adjourn or did you have something you want to add? Okay. Okay. And the seconder? Fiona? All those in favor? Adjourned at 10:37. Thank you very much for your time.